tremendous privilege for me to be here speaking at this rally and at the site of one of the greatest struggles of working class people and one of the greatest victories of working class people that has ever taken place. It's also an enormous privilege for me to be speaking on the same platform as someone who I believe was the greatest trade union leader that this country has ever seen, Arthur Scargill. We're here today to thank the people, the working people of Birmingham who turned out and marched on those gates, those infamous gates at that coking plant, and forced the police to close the gates. On that day, the 10th of February 1972, you, the people of Birmingham, changed my life. And not only that, you changed the lives of many miners and their families. Throughout the 1960s, we were being told constantly that if we tried to improve our wages and our terms and conditions, they would close our pits. Not only were we threatened by the NCB, but in fact our trade union leaders in the 60s were also telling us that we had to accept wage reductions in real terms, or otherwise our pits would close. In fact, there was a joke at the time that used to go around the coalfields. They used to say that we drew our wage packet on a Friday, we'd take it home and we'd throw it on the table, and it would take it half an hour to float down and land. That's how bad the situation was. Before Saltley, we had sunk to something like 17th in the Industrial Wages League. And I'm talking here about miners working at the coal face on wages that were absolutely appalling. Our wives had to go out to work, not because they wanted to. If they wanted to, fine, but not because of that, and not for pin money. Our wives had to go out to work to supplement miners' wages during the 1960s, and I remember that time well. Following Saltley, we marched back, and we marched back at the top of the Industrial Wages League. But in 1974, there was another miners' strike, and we won that as well, and that was in no small part due to what happened at Saltley Gate. Saltley will go down in the annals of working class struggle as one of the greatest victories of all time, if not the greatest victory of all time. And the working class people of Birmingham wrote a proud chapter for themselves in the history of working class struggle on that day when they chanted, "Close the gates, close the gates, let's be honest to them, close the gates, close the gates, close the gates." As much as it was right and proper, and is right and proper, to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Saltley, we must remember that our enemy never sleeps. Today we are faced with the greatest class robbery taking place for over 200 years. Pensions are under attack, wages under attack, privatisation of the NHS is taking place daily. The dismantling of the welfare state is taking place. Mass unemployment is again stalking the land. The greatest transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich is taking place, and we're told that we are all in it together. Well, some people aren't in it, but the rest of us are going to be well and truly in it. Stephen Hester, only a fortnight ago, he said he'd have to give up a bonus of £1 million. I don't know whether he's actually given it up. I haven't seen the small print. I'm not going to accuse him of not telling the truth, because after all he's a banker. But he said only a couple of days ago that we haven't got to attack the wealth creators. Well, I agree with him, because I think the real wealth creators in this country are the people who get up every day and go and do a decent day's work, not those who manage the bank and gamble away our money. He's not a wealth creator. They wreck the global economy. How can they possibly have the gall to tell us that they are wealth creators when they wreck the world's economy in the way they have? They ought to have been sent to Gamblers Anonymous. They did that much gambling. In fact, they made Las Vegas look like a haven of moderation. Working people are not the perpetrators of this economic crisis. They are the victims of it. The government said they couldn't interfere with the contract of Stephen Hester because he had a contract. They said that about Fred Goodwin when he walked away with $5 million, that they couldn't interfere with his contract. So my question is, why are they hell-bent on interfering with the contracts of public sector workers by interfering and trying to reduce their pensions? Because that is a contract. When people join a pension scheme, it's a contract. They pay into it and expect that when they retire, they will get the entitlements to which they are due. We must support our class whenever they are in struggle, just as we did in 1972, and I'm talking about our class, whether it's in Greece, where they're taken to the streets, in Spain, in Portugal, in Italy, even across North Africa, and even in America, where of course we are seeing the Occupy Wall Street protests taking place. And of course here in Britain, when people fight back, we have a duty to support them. And I would say this: when people from deprived communities such as Haringey take to the streets because they have no jobs, because they live in social deprivation, because they have no prospects, they have no opportunities, we don't condemn them, we support them when they fight back. In the next few years, our class will have to carry the spirit of Saltley into the intense struggles that we face. We must never allow the government to create false divisions amongst us. When they try to create divisions between public sector workers and private sector workers, we should reject that kind of division, just as we do when they try to divide us in other ways, men against women, black against white. There's only one enemy, and that's the same enemy that we had in 1972 here at Saltley. Together, united, we can defeat them again. Proud to be here, and thank you very much.